Hi guys, welcome back again to another sewing tutorial on this channel. This is Jowins Fashion Ville. If you're stopping here for the first time, you're absolutely welcome. In today's video, we'll be learning how to make a stylish overbust corset with a scoop neckline. If this is what you're interested in learning, kindly watch the video to the end. Hit on the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So guys, let's get right into the tutorial. Okay guys, so I have my pattern paper on my work table with my illustrative lines. I have the shoulder line, I have the chest line that establishes the armhole, I have my bust line, the underbust line, the waistline, and then the full length of my corset blouse. These lines, the measurement I took from my shoulder. So what you need to do is to take your own body measurement and place on your pattern paper. The next thing I'll simply do guys is to mark the quarter of my body measurements on the pattern. So on my chest line, I'm going to be placing the quarter of my bust, which is already there, while drafting the armhole. I'll simply proceed to my waist. On my waistline, which is very exceptional, I did the quarter of my waist circumference plus 1 inch. So guys, I added additional 1 inch to the waistline, and the reason for this will be explained in details as the tutorial proceed. On the full length of my corset blouse, I marked the quarter of my hip circumference. Okay, just the quarter with no additional measurement to it. The only additional measurement I have is on my waistline, so I'll go ahead and connect the points as you can see me doing. Okay guys, after I was done, the next thing I simply did was to blend it properly to eliminate any form of sharpness around the waist area. The next thing I'll simply do is to mark my half bust span, which is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. For me, I'm working with 4 inches, and like I always mention that it varies for different person. For you it could be 3.75, and for some other person it could be 3.5. So I'm going to be using the straight part of my pattern master, or if you have a meter rule, go ahead and use it to establish a straight line linking these points together, as you can see on the pattern. So after I was done, I'll go ahead and contour the underbust. Towards the center front, I'll be marking 1/2 inch, and towards the side front, I'll be marking 1.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and narrow this point down to my full length of my overbust corset. So narrow it on both sides. So at this point, I'll go ahead and highlight these lines because I actually want a prominent line. I don't want to work with any faded lines on the pattern. Okay, so after I was done highlighting, I'll go ahead and use my curve rule and contour it properly towards the bust point. So use the curvy part to ensure that you're creating that bust effect on your pattern. Okay, so this is what we have for the bust dart. I'll be coming down by 1.5 inches, and like I always mention, that the bust dart is a difference between your front waistline and your back waistline. So the front waistline is 18 inches on my pattern. For the overbust contouring, I'm going to be marking the midpoint of my shoulder. You can go ahead and divide it by 2 with your measuring tape and then link it down to the bust point, as you can see me doing. The next thing I'll simply do, guys, is to close up my bust dart, and for me to achieve this, I'll go ahead and reduce the width of my pattern. You can see that I have excess on the pattern, so I'll reduce the overall width to enable me close up my bust dart. So having achieved that, after trimming out the excess I have on that part, what I'll simply do, guys, is to open up this shoulder line that I drew for my overbust contour, and I'll open it, ensuring that it gets to the bust point. Okay, so ensure that you cut it down to the bust point to enable you close up your bust dart. So closing up your bust dart, you can do it this way, or you can use a slash method to close up your bust dart. So like I mentioned earlier, ensure that you open this line, your shoulder line, properly to the bust line to enable you close up your bust dart. If you have any irregular line, you can go ahead and blend it up properly. Okay, use your ruler to blend any irregular line. For the overbust, I'm going to be measuring the dart I have here. What I have here is 2.5, and to calculate my percentage overbust fit, what I'll simply do is to measure the data I have there, which is 2.5 over 100 times the percentage you want to do. It could be 50 or 40. So I did times 50 and it gave me 1.25. If you don't understand this calculation, just go ahead and mark 1.25 on your pattern, or you can do 1 inch or 1.5, depends on your bust size. So for my own calculation for my bust size, which is 50%, I go 1.25. I'll go ahead and mark it on both sides of my pattern, on both sides of the shoulder, that shoulder dart, and then I'll go ahead and replace 1.25 on the shoulder, and then create a new armhole with it. Okay, so this will kind of prevent shortage around the front width area. Okay, so having done that, what I'll simply do is to go ahead and divide the measurement I have, what I have on the waist. You can see I divided it by 2 to create my second dart. And if you notice that the measurement I have here on the first dart is 1.5, so which is enough for my waist snatching. I have 1.5 here, and then the remaining 1 inch I added on my waist, I'll use it and establish the second dart. So remember that I added 1 inch on the waistline. That remaining 1 inch, I'll use it to create my second dart. The other dart, 1.5 inches on the pattern, is for the snatching, which will give me overall waist reduction of 6 inch, my round waist. Because if I remove 1.5 on the front pattern and then 1.5 for the back pattern, automatically you're snatching your waistline by 6 inches. So for the additional dart I'm placing here, remember that I have extra 1 inch on my waistline, so I'm going to be using it for this dart, narrowing it downwards and then upwards, as you can see. So the next thing I'll simply do, so at this point I was trying to confirm the measurement I have on my waist, if it's my actual waist measurement, and I was just comfortable with the measurement I got there because I was doing my plus and minus to be sure that it is my actual waistline that I have, excluding the 1.5 inches for the waist snatching. So if your waist is 8.75, just like mine, if you remove 1.5, whatever measurement you have should be confirmed on your pattern. I don't know if this is making sense, guys. So guys, what I'll simply do next is to curve my hemline. So at that point I'll go up by 2 inches or 1.5 or 2.5. I'll go ahead and curve it to the center front, as you can see on the pattern. So guys, this is what we have. So I'll go ahead and trim out the excess around that area. Okay, so having done this, the next thing we'll simply do is to create our scoop neckline. And how do we achieve this? I'll go ahead and open up my waist darts to enable me close up the shoulder darts. Okay, so just cut this through till you get to your bust point. This explains why I didn't cut out the bust part with scissors. I had to close it so that I won't have much torn paper. So I'll fold one part of the dart and place it on the other side. On the center front, which is the neckline, I came down by 9.5 inches, and then I'll use my curve rule to create a curve. So this is not a standard. It depends on how you want it. It could be longer or more prominent than this. So after creating the scoop neckline, I'll go ahead and cut out the excess pattern on the paper. At this point, you can go ahead and label your pattern. You have to be very careful so that you don't alter your pattern. Take your time to understand what you really need. Okay, so this is the front pattern that we have. We'll simply proceed to the back. Okay guys, for the back pattern, just like the front pattern, I also have my illustrative lines already established on the pattern, which is my shoulder, chest, the waist, and the full length. For the full length, it's reduced by 1.5 inches. The front is 26. The full length of the back is 24.5. So what I'll simply do is to mark the quarter of my body measurement on the pattern, which is the quarter of my bust on the chest, the quarter of my waist on the waistline. We're not adding 1 inch on the back for the back pattern. I only alter the waist for the front pattern, but for the back I have my actual waist measurement, quarter of my waist, quarter of my bust, and the quarter of my hip. Okay, so what I'll simply do, I'll go ahead and use my meter rule to extend the line on the chest line, just extend it to the center back. So I just wanted to highlight the lines properly. So I'll go ahead and mark my half bust span, which is my nipple to nipple for on the back pattern as well, and then link the points from the chest line down to the full length of the blouse. So for the back pattern, I'm going to be using the regular waist dart, which is 1/2 inch on both sides. 1/2 inch on both sides is 1 inch. Okay, 1/2 inch on both sides of one dart is 1 inch. So this is for the first dart, as you can see me doing. The second dart, I'm going to be dividing what I have on the waistline for the second dart. I'll divide it by two equal parts. I'll go ahead and draw a straight line, and then I'll be marking, this is 1 inch, I'll be marking 0.25, which is 1/4 inch on both sides to give me 1/2 inch. So the overall dart intake for the back pattern is 1.5 inches. So the target is 6-inch reduction. So we have 1.5 in front and then 1.5 at the back. Okay, so for the lacing bar, I'm going to be marking 2.5 inches on the chest line, and on the hemline I'll go in by 1 inch, and then I'll go ahead and link these 2 points, as you can see. So this will be for the eyelets. Okay, so guys, on the chest line, you can decide to leave it this way or make it a bit curvy. So I came down by 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead and use my curve rule. So at this point I was testing the actual pattern that will suit the curve that I want. So I took this particular curve rule to establish my curve, the back curve for the back pattern. So I'll go ahead and label 1, 2, 3, and then this is what we have for the back. The back pattern is very easy to draft. So I'll take the one part of my front pattern, which is the curvy part, to create that curve, to ensure that the front pattern and the back pattern is matching properly. So you can see that with the waist reduction, the patterns are matching. The front pattern is 26, the back pattern is 24.5. Having placed the front pattern, I went ahead to create that curve for the back as well. So guys, if you have watched to this point, guys, do not forget to hit on the like button. Do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to always check out our other tutorials that will be posting after now, and our previous tutorials that we have on the channel. Thank you guys.